we're going to go ahead and talk about Devolutions Server. So we did Remote Desktop Manager Hub. Now it's time to introduce you to François Dubois. For me, it's Frank. I don't know if it's, I don't know if I've always called you Frank. So Frank, product owner, team leader on the Devolutions Server project.
Exactly.
First time at Devolutions Central, I believe, right?
Yes, I did one webinar 5 months ago.
A few months ago,
for Devolutions Central, the first time.
And again, on my right, Maurice Côté, product manager on the and Pam, product owner here at Devolutions. So what are we talking about, guys? Are we doing a bit of what's new in server and what's coming?
We're going to recap what we did since last year, because I won't assume that the audience was there for the webinar.
Sure.
But it's going to be short and sweet. Then Frank is itching to show us stuff.
Nice.
He's going to be showing the good stuff. There.
So, Devolutions Server roadmap.
Yeah. So quickly again, we won't spend too much time on that. Did Jenny prepare a poll for you guys?
Yeah.
So again, I targeted the audience as if you were already Devolutions Server users. We understand that there are maybe some of you guys that are shopping, that are looking to upgrade to PAM, but this will require a base knowledge of Devolutions Server. So identity providers, we had introduced OpenID or OAuth authentication against Devolutions Server. We started with Azure Active Directory. Some of you guys may call this Office 365, but that was a huge step for us because OpenID, OAuth are standards, and by following these standards, in theory, we could add new providers all the time. Identity providers. So for PAM providers, so again, we call them authentication providers because they're the source for privileged accounts. One would argue that your identity provider is also an authentication provider, and they are, but still for the PAM vocabulary, we're trying to keep on to that authentication provider terminology. So Azure AD and local Windows accounts. But these, again, by pairing with Azure AD, we had our hands in the engine and we did create that Azure AD provider. And the PAM dashboard was a huge improvement for IT users that are in Remote Desktop Manager day in, day out. They could see all of their PAM accounts straight from RDM. So that was a huge improvement as well, and as well as performing checkouts, check-ins straight from your tool. And then Devolutions Workspace, amazing introduction to our platform because we send messages, we send PAM checkout approvals straight from the app. So if you think of the persona that would perform the approval, they're typically not an IT user. They may be, but they're in meetings all the time. They're away somewhere, and so we wanted that good experience from your mobile app. They can just look at the checkout and approve it straight from the app. So that was a huge improvement. What do we see, Jenny? Do we see results?
Yeah, Active Directory and Azure AD being
there it is.
As identity providers. Surprise?
Still, no. What I didn't ask because we're limited by the platform. For a short while, you could use both register at the same time, but they draw some concern because one is almost a copy of the other, and that we decided to not support that workflow as a primary workflow anymore. But still, so we see across the board not a lot of Okta, which is new. We'll see that later on. Okay, so PAM approvals and a message center. So that was the start of Workspace working with us, and it's just that was amazing. And then July, we created, after many months of waiting from certain customers, emergency access. And I think we have a good solution. It's a simple one-step operation using the console. You enable that mode. So if you have an outage of either your multi-factor authentication, Azure, or Azure AD or AD, let's say, that didn't happen yet. But still, if your identification provider has an outage, you can enable a mode where you would have access to your accounts and privilege accounts and everything in there. We improved the notifications, and then we also improved our policies. They're in blue, Frank. That's something he's going to show. Yeah. In the past, you had settings at the system level for maybe IP address allow listing and block listing, GeoIP. They were at the system level. We had one set, but now it's a policy engine that you can tie into users or user groups. So it's a big improvement. Then the gateway, which had come out just in December, I think, but still we improved the deployment. We supported way more protocols that were widely used. So these are great additions to the gateway. Then in the PAM, we started our first ticketing system integration with Jira. We sometimes get other systems requested, but not enough. We need some of your input, guys. We need to know which system you are using for ticketing. How can we improve our platform by integrating with other ticketing systems? I know in RDM, we've been requested a lot for ServiceNow, but in the DVLS space, nothing really sticks out. So we need your input. Passwords resets for MySQL, Oracle, Cisco. So that's one aspect of a authentication provider. We had knowledge on how to do these, so we created these password reset only providers, and they appeared at that time. But we'll see later on a much better system. That's the thing. We already improved so much that some of these have been reviewed completely from the ground up. Mm-hmm. And also for unmanaged privileged account, because some of you guys were asking us to handle privileged accounts that were not tied into any authority whatsoever. So they're just there as baggage, but you can do that checkout workflow and you have full visibility, these alerts, notifications. So the PAM goodness over an account that is just there. So that's the PAM for July. For Remote Desktop Manager, we had a Devolutions Server dashboard. Again, next step, we improved on what we had delivered in the past. So we created that messaging center and a view of accounts, privileged accounts that were shared with you. So that's July. Moving on quickly.
And you have a few suggestions right there, Maurice. Zendesk, ServiceNow, Autotask, all very popular ticketing systems to integrate with.
Yes.
Good to know.
Yep.
Yeah, I looked at ServiceNow. I haven't looked at Zendesk, but yeah, we have leads in there. So we just need your user input. Good, keep it coming. And then just this last month, not too long ago, in the Devolutions Server core, we to help out with the support staff, and as well as all of you guys that are migrating from AD to Azure AD, or you're moving from one layout, you're buying companies, you're increasing in size, you need to move users from one authentication provider to another. So we now have a migration. In fact, this is key for preserving your user vault, what we used to call a private vault. So this is a huge change, a huge improvement. So that helps out in a lot of scenarios. SMTP, modern auth, identity providers. We came out with Okta, which was requested, but again, we need your input for the others. Make your suggestions. The gateway, now you can view active sessions and as well as kill them. So that's you can look at the time spent. You can look at the obviously you see the person and everything. So now this step was to kill the session. The next step is to have the PAM kill it when your checkout is done, expires. So we're, again, building Lego blocks, and now we can imagine a few advanced scenarios. So the PAM killing the session. And then Kerberos authentication via the KDC proxy. Frank, you want to...
Yeah, it's really technical, but it helps user to do Kerberos authentication via our Devolutions gateway. Otherwise, you can't use Kerberos authentication. So it is useful for people who want to enforce Kerberos authentication. So it helps us, and now we use something to create a KDC proxy token that is a bit more complex to use, but now it is possible to use a token that it is built only when you request your session. The token is built and it will use the gateway to authenticate with Kerberos. So it's more for it's used for more security. It's the goal is only to help people to be more secure.
Yeah, because larger businesses, we were not that large, but we did it. We had to disable NTLM. So that was huge. So those of you at the right-hand side of the security posture, NTLM was disabled, and Kerberos is the only way to go.
A few versions ago, we added a feature to force IP to force the IP when we open the session. I remember we demo it in the webinar many months ago. And so now you can still use the full name, because when you use the IP, it forces NTLM authentication. Yeah. So now you can use the full name, and the Kerberos authentication will work.
So this is IT goodness. So that keeps us awake at night. Okay. And then PAM is single line, but it's a huge step. Custom providers, we'll see them later on. And then in RDM, again, David asked for an extra improvement. Now the PAM accounts are presented in a tree view. So that's an obvious, it's less of an irritant because you're used to seeing accounts in a tree view. And so the PAM is presented in that same manner. So that's it for wasting time in PowerPoint. Now we need to show.
Let's see the good stuff.
The good stuff.
Let's start from the beginning, the login. So nothing, let's say nothing sexy to show with Okta, but we configure our system to use Okta user. So it is very similar to what you have with Azure AD. You are forward to Okta system. You enter your password and that's it. The configuration is very similar as Azure. You have an application ID, a secret, and it's almost the same as Azure. So Maurice talked about security policy. So if we start from there, in administration server setting, we have security policies. It is where you can create rules to allow or deny an access for a user, or you can also create some rule for 2FA. Let's say you don't want to be prompt for 2FA if you are in your office, or only when you are outside the office, stuff like that. So you can control both. So you create different rule. Our rule, you can create a rule based on the authentication type. On the time. So let's say you don't want people access our system outside business hour, stuff like that. Based on IP addresses, it was something already supported before, like Maurice told us, but now everything is grouped here. Geo IP as well, based on user. If you want to specify specific rule for user or user group, and if it is an administrator or not. So you can mix and match all those rules together to create complex rules to allow or deny an access or a 2FA.
So that means that you can have rules for typical workflows for your staff, and when they're connecting from an internet cafe somewhere, They have stricter rules. So that's the basis behind the thinking of this system. You can do it per user group, and all that goodness can be configured.
I love that. An internet cafe. I think it's been 10 years since I heard that one.
I think they exist in somewhere still. They do.
Sorry.
The next thing that we have we worked on the last version is authentication migration. It will be very helpful for you when you want to move to Azure AD or to move to Okta or stuff like that. So in authentication, you have authentication migration. So you have a wizard where you have different steps. Here it's just a few rule or a few comments to help you to do it in the right way. So here, let's say we want to move from Active Directory to Okta. So we want to move our user to all our users. We want to move them to Okta. I can launch it. I will not finish the process because I don't want to move my user, of course. But you will see that we match the user that are defined in Active Directory, and we try to match the same user that exists in Okta. So here I can see that I have Bob in my Active Directory, and it matched the same user that it exists in Okta. The other two users, they don't exist, so you have choice. You can just leave them or delete them later, or maybe create them in Okta. And you can do the same thing with user group after. So once after it is done, all your users they can use the new authentication type. So they can use their Okta authentication, and they will keep their user vault, and it's the main thing that you want, because our support receive a lot of requests for that, because people, of course, they don't want to lose all their user vault. So often they try to export it, re-import it with a different user, but that tool will help you a lot.
I think you have only time for the custom providers now.
Yes. Oh yeah. So if we move to custom provider, our privilege access, our PAM layout, we change it a lot. Now it looks like all our vault. So if you search for everything related to administration, it is in administration privilege access. So now we have providers, and now you have a new button here that is template, and those template is I created a template for Azure Key Vault, and if we look what it looked like. You define different input for your provider. So for example, for Azure Key Vault, we know that if we want to access Azure Key Vault, we need a tenant ID, an application ID, a password, and the Key Vault name that we want to access, and the subscription. So it is only variable. So it is the template. So, and we have the same for the account. An account for Azure AD is a name, a secret, and an ID. So after that, we define the different script for the password rotation. We can define what will be the input of the script. So you can see here that the script will receive all those variable, and the script is defined here with the same variable as input, and it is PowerShell, so you can do what you want.
So it's an engine that you provide scripts. In fact, we will provide most of these scripts. That's what we call templates. So this first one is Azure Key Vault. So just so you understand, so it's like one of our vaults is now moved to Azure in this case. And we could imagine having that for Amazon, Google Cloud, whatever system you use. If you can call it and interact with it in PowerShell in this case, you can use it as a PAM vault. So you have accounts, you have a unique administrative account that has access to create and edit and rotate the password. So again, all of that PAM goodness. You put a PAM facade in front of any storage system that provides accounts. It's extremely powerful because customers were asking us, please support AS400s, good old servers. Please support so-and-so. We could not imagine following you guys, going as fast as you needed. So by creating that custom architecture, you provide the scripts and you can interact with any storage system as you see fit. So it's extremely powerful, and it's the start of something big. These scripts will be in GitHub, so you can do pull requests and improve them if you feel that you need to do it on your side. You can contribute to ours. So it's really big, and I think no one else does that. So we'll see.
One important feature that we are working on right now is to be able to export and import. So like Maurice said, it is probably we build that one, so we will put it on GitHub to give it to you, so you will be able to just import that file and you will have the template. When the template is done, you only have to come to provider and you create one based on that template, and you define the field that we said that we need a tenant ID, application ID, password, and so you fill the blank, and that's it. After that, it works like any other provider. You can create a scan to see to get all the secret on that key vault. I have 3 secret. I imported two of them. Then it works exactly like before. So then you go in your Azure Key Vault, and when you reset the password, let's say, it will call the script that we created in the template, and the reset will be done, and that's it. So like Maurice said, I think it will be really helpful, and it is powerful, and we will continue to work on that. And if you have any requests around that to use it easily, or don't hesitate to send us your feedback.
And we quickly show the last slide.
Absolutely, yeah. Go ahead, guys.
I want to. It was supposed to be about the roadmap, so I want to show.
Yeah, of course. There you go.
Yeah. So right now, well, across the board, all of our products will have a new system dashboard. So we're following, and in the case of Devolutions Server, you'll see the list of components, the gateways, the version installed. And again, if you imagine, we can build on that and perform remote updates and so on and so on. So again, the start of something new, something amazing. The workspace will have push notifications on top of your emails. Then we will have a basic install. For those of you that installed everything on a single server, we want it to be a next operation. We'll offer you the customization, but we'll do the basic choices ourselves. Again, organizations are on the board, but they're not short-term. We need to identify some of you guys, without talking about MSPs, larger businesses, they onboard contractors. So they want the contractor to not see too many privately identifiable information. So that's on the board. HashiCorp style secret management for DevOps. So that's been a feature request for a long time. Our own DevOps are asking us for easier ways to consuming our secrets, so we'll be working on that. PAM, just-in-time account provisioning, so scaffolding from the ground up an account and managing the time to live of the security token and so on and so on. So you'll be able to create an account on the fly. Better entry sharing, again, coming across the board, the same type of feature. Account provisioning as well with our generic custom provider, mechanism, we could create accounts on the fly as well. And the gateway, I think, is working on session recording. For the PAM, it's quite important to have the recording done not on the client, but rather on a gateway. And I think they've improved it already, and they'll keep working at it.
Great. There you go. There you have it. Past, present, and future of Devolutions Server with Maurice Côté and François Dubois. Thanks, guys, for joining us.